Hey, welcome back, guys. It's Camaro here, and I have three super fun and really cute Dollar Tree Easter wreaths to share with you guys. I really love the way that these ones turned out, and hopefully you will too. So let's hippity hop to it. For the first wreath, I'm going to be using this bunny-shaped metal wreath and this cotton nautical rope from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to start by removing the piece of tape that comes on the end of the rope, so that way I can unravel each of the strands, and then I'm going to be left with 3 strands rather than 1. And this is going to make it a little bit thinner as well. I didn't really want like a super chunky rope for this wreath, so I'm just unraveling it to the very end. Then I'm left with 3 strands, like I said, rather than 1. So once I was done doing that, I'm just putting the rope around the wreath and kind of eyeballing it to see how long I want the frills on this wreath to be. And once I was happy with the length, I just made my cut. And then I went to my cutting mat from Dollar Tree just to measure it out, just to see how long the piece was that I cut, so I can cut the rest of the pieces the same length. And it turned out it was basically exactly 5 inches long. So that is what I took my measurements based off of, and I just started cutting 5-inch strands off of the individual pieces that I unraveled. After I cut multiple strands, it was time to attach them to the wreath, and I am just doing a loop kind of attachment. I really don't know like the specific name for this, but you're going to make a loop around one of the ends, and then the individual strands you're going to pull through that loop and pull that around the wreath. This is what you're going to have after you do that, and I'm just going to go all the way around the entire wreath doing that same loop type of pattern, I guess. Yeah. So you make a loop, and then I'm just going to loop the individual strands, like I said, through that loop and pull so it's nice and tight. And this is the method that I did for the entire wreath. So I started at the bottom of the wreath, and I think I did 14 strands for each little segment, like each little compartment. So give or take for how many you guys are going to need, depending on how tight you pull them and how kind of like close you scrunch them together. So like I said, did this all the way around for that wreath, and it's going to have a nice frilly boho look, which I think it is super cute. And when I got to the ears, I was kind of torn. I didn't know if I wanted the ears to be frilly like the rest of the wreath, or kind of more laid back, and that's why I took the extra strand that I have of that cotton rope, that nautical rope, and I just wrapped it around one of the ears just so I could get a visual of what it would look like if I were to do it that way. But I ultimately decided that I did like the frills like all the way around, so that's what I did to both of the ears. But I think either way would be super cute if you wanted to just wrap the strand around like I did in the beginning. But that is totally up to you. Alright, so now that I had the outside of the wreath done, it was just time to do the same thing to the middle of the wreath. And I did one of the compartments so that way I can show you what each of those layers look like, because it has 3 separate layers: small, medium, and large. And I love how it is turning out so far. Super, super frilly and fluffy. He's a floofy bunny. So cute. So again, just finished that up, and here is how it looked after all was said and done with all those frills. And I did decide to leave the part by the ear just empty as is. I didn't want to make it super fluffy, so that way it was showing like poking up into the ear portion. So that was just my choice. You guys can fill it in if you wanted to do that, but I decided to leave it. My next step was to take this comb from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to brush out the rope, so that way it unravels it a little bit more, and it kind of makes it look more more put together, I guess you could say. And just nice, and those, each strand is kind of just all brushed out. And you guys can totally trim up the edges to make it even, but I really liked the imperfectness of it, I guess you could say. So I did not trim any of that, and I just left it as is. And then next, I'm taking this mesh ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm just making a really quick, simple bow to go onto the wreath. I chose the brown color because I thought like the colors between the beige and that dark brown would just go really, really well together. Like it was a good contrast between the 2 colors. And then next I'm taking some greenery picks from Dollar Tree, and I'm just kind of playing around with, how I want the flowers to go and the placement of each of them. And once I was happy with the look of that, I'm just taking my hot glue and gluing everything down into place. And then I'm going to glue that bow right on top of those floral pieces. And here you have it. It's all finished, and I think it's absolutely adorable. Look how frou-frou and frilly it is. A frilly little boho bunny Easter wreath. This is great for spring as well, so it transitions very well, and feel free to choose any floral pieces you want. Make a bigger bow, put it directly in the center, on the side, whatever you please. I know it's going to be beautiful. Alright, on to my next wreath. I'm going to be using this egg-shaped wreath, and I'm going to take some tin cutters, and I'm going to start by cutting the center pieces of each compartment. So I'm leaving the top and the bottom, outermost edges alone, and I'm just cutting the ones in the middle. And I cut them directly in half, so that way I could just bend them up, back and forth until each of those little prongs, I guess, pop off, and that way it's going to give it more of like a hollowed out look to the egg. And I'm just going to do that all the way around till all of those middle compartments are gone. And it was actually super easy. I was surprised at how easy they just came off. So like I said, cut them right in the middle. That's my recommendation, because you pry them up, back and forth until they just pop off super easy. And again, like I said, I'm just going all the way around the middle compartments of that wreath till everything is nice and hollowed out. And here's what you will be left with after all is said and done for that process. And then next, I'm going to take this jute twine from Dollar Tree. And I'm not going to lie, this was a very time-consuming process because the rope is so thin. But this is just the look that I had in mind for this wreath, so I think it is totally worth it. Sit down, relax, watch a movie, play some music, and get to work. So I'm just taking the strand and I'm just wrapping and wrapping and wrapping and wrapping some more all the way around until that entire wreath is covered with that jute twine. And here is how it looked after I was done wrapping all of those pieces. It's really cute, rustic, and it doesn't have a really super chunky look, and that's what I was going for. I just wanted a nice minimal wrap on there. Next, I am taking this hanging Easter garland, and it is from the Dollar Tree Plus section. It was $3, but I thought it was totally worth it, so that way I didn't have to make this garland myself. It was already done for me. So I'm just taking the garland and kind of playing around with it. I was deciding, what color I wanted on the top of my wreath and whatnot. I decided I wanted the pink at the top, so that's why it's kind of, uneven. But once I knew where I wanted to place them, I'm just making my cuts, and then I'm, tying those two strands together at the end and adding a little bit of glue for some stability, I guess, so it doesn't come apart. And then I'm going to be pushing those Easter eggs into the wreath. The ones on the side fit really well in between the two sides of the wreath. So when you shove them in, you'll have part of the egg that's still sticking up out of the top, and then part of the egg, oh my goodness, sorry, is going to be sticking out on the bottom. And then the eggs that are on the top and the bottom of the wreath, you're just going to have to glue those to each section of the wreath. So I'm gluing the pink one to the very top of the wreath, and then the green one is going to be glued to the very bottom of the wreath. And once I was done gluing those two eggs down, I did flip the wreath over, so that way I'm gluing on the back side so you can't see the glue, obviously. And then I'm just going to, reinforce the eggs that are on the side. I don't want them to be able to pop out or anything, so that's why I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue on each side of those eggs. And here is how it's going to look after all those steps are done. And in my opinion, it still looks super cute just as is. You could totally walk away and be done with it, but I'm just going to take it a little bit further, and I'm going to add some more of those floral pieces from Dollar Tree. But this time, rather than making kind of a clump of flowers, what do they call that? A swag, maybe? I'm not sure. Instead of doing that, this time I just went and lined the innermost part of that wreath with these floral pieces, and I really like the way that this turned out, so hopefully you guys will too. So once I was done lining all the way around the inner part of that wreath, I'm taking some more of that mesh ribbon, but this time I'm going to use the white color. I just really liked the colors, how they contrasted together this time, more of the neutral type of looking colors. Again, just made a super quick bow, and then just put it right there at at the very top, kind of off-centered a little bit. And then next I am taking these cute little wooden Easter bunnies that are from Dollar Tree as well. And I'm going to take 3 of them and I'm just going to glue them to the bottom of the wreath. I'm going to start with the first one and put that directly into the middle of the bottom of the wreath, so right above that green egg. And then for the other 2, I'm just gluing them off to the side with a little space or a little gap in between each of those bunnies. And here is how it turned out, you guys. Oh my goodness, one of my favorite wreaths so far. I don't know, I just love the look of this one. It's different. I haven't seen it done like this before, so I really take pride in trying to push my limits, or stepping outside of the box a little bit. So hopefully you guys really enjoy this one. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments, and let's get to our last wreath, which we are going to be using the Easter bunny shaped wreath again like we did in the first one. And this time I'm using this jute twine. It's really super thick and kind of hard to work with, and this is from Amazon. I ordered it from Amazon. It was a really good deal, so I mean it was kind of worth it, but like I don't know, I personally don't recommend using this this rope. It was absolutely terrible, I'm not gonna lie. It gave me splinters, it was messy, and it was just so hard to kind of pull through that wreath. But anyways, if you have another rope on hand, I would totally recommend using that, something that's a little bit more softer and like pliable and easier to work with. But enough of that. Let's get to how we're going to wrap this wreath, or kind of design it, I guess. I'm going to do an over-under pattern. So I'm just going over one of the bars of the wreath and then under the next one, over the next one, under the next one, over, under, and you're just going to do that all the way throughout the wreath until it's complete. I did cut a strand of that rope off, so I did run out of it. So I just had to glue, the end part onto the back of the wreath, and then I just got a new strand and then just continued on where I left off. And here's how it's going to look after you keep doing that like over-under pattern all the way through. I just have one little part to finish, which I ended up finishing right on the back, so it kind of worked out perfectly for me, I guess. So I can just continue on onto the ear. And for the ears, I'm just going to wrap just around and around and around and around until I'm completely, until I have completely covered that ear. And of course, once I made it to the end, I'm just going to glue it to the back of the wreath so you can't see it, obviously, and then cut off the excess part, and then move on to the second ear so it's completely covered as well. And here's how it looks once I was done wrapping. Pain in the butt, but totally worth it, not gonna lie. And next I'm going to be using this fabric from Walmart. It's really cute, has a cute little bunny on it with like a cute little floral wreath on its head. I thought it was absolutely adorable. It does have some wrinkles, so I did use my iron and just kind of smooth it out as much as I could just to get rid of some of those wrinkles. And then I'm going to take my wreath and just kind of place it and eyeball it where I want the bunnies to be poking through, like on the fabric, and how I wanted their faces to be placed or whatnot. I didn't want to cover so many bunnies, you know what I mean? So once I was happy with the placement, I'm just going to add a bunch of hot glue to the back of the wreath and then just glue it down into place. I'm going to give it some time to, like adhere to the wreath, the fabric and whatnot. And if there's any spots that are coming apart, I'm just going to add a little bit more hot glue just to make sure everything is nice and secure. After that, I'm going to take a razor blade and my cutting mat, and then I'm just going to cut away the excess parts of that fabric away from the wreath as much as I possibly can, so that way you can't see it when you're looking at it from the front. And what I can't get with my razor blade, I'm just going to go in with a pair of small scissors or fabric scissors, and I'm just going to keep cutting away so that way I won't be able to see any of that fabric peeking through when, you're looking at it face forward. And here is how it looks after I'm done with, cutting it and gluing all the extra parts that kind of came undone. And what do you know, again, using those floral pieces from Dollar Tree. I know, so repetitive, but I just really love the way that these look, and they have a really nice neutral and spring Easter vibe to them. So that's why I use them all throughout all 3 of these Easter wreaths. But again, just playing around with the placement, and once I was happy with that, I just glued everything down into place. And I didn't want to use a bow this time, so that way I just kind of, I didn't want to use a bow, so I just kind of added the flowers to make it like a center, like focal part of this like little swag. And that's what I did instead of a bow. And here is how this one turned out, you guys. I absolutely love it. This one is my mom's favorite. She said, I sent her pictures of all three and she said that is definitely my favorite so far. So hopefully you guys love it as much as I do and as much as my mom does. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below in my comment section. And before you guys go, I just wanted to show you one more time each of the wreaths that I made in this video, just in some better lighting and whatnot, and so you can really, see all the details close up. Yeah. So if you guys have made it this far, leave me a little Easter bunny emoji down below and let me know what kind of stuff you're looking for next. Are you still looking for more Easter ideas? Are we moving on to bee themed? Are we doing some spring decor? Are we trying to find summer decor already? I mean, nobody wants to think about summer right now, right? Speaking of that, because I live in Arizona and it's actually been snowing here quite a bit, which is funny because it doesn't normally snow. So all of us are like, oh my God, it's so exciting. But it's been really pretty warm this past week, but I'm not looking forward to it heating up super, super fast. So I'm really trying to enjoy this nice spring weather. We got the birds chirping outside. I love it. Florals. Flowers are starting to bloom and everything, and the weather is so beautiful right now, so hopefully it stays like this just for a little bit of time, and then it can get super hot and we can all sweat to death in the summer. But anyways, guys, that's enough jibber jabber from me. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these wreaths. And don't forget to subscribe if you have not already done so. I would love for you guys to join the Dying to DIY fam. All right, I catch you guys in the next one. Bye.